What's up, Global Village? Okay, you can always trust Elon Musk to wind me up and motivate me to crank out a little video rant. So first of all, I'm just going to let the boys from Internet Today just summarize a tweet he posted on X just as the Super Bowl was kicking off, probably so no one could pick up on this epic backtrack. But let's listen to what he had to say.
For those unaware, SpaceX has already shifted focus to building a self-growing city on the moon, as we can potentially achieve that in less than 10 years, whereas Mars would take 20 plus years. The mission of SpaceX remains the same: extend consciousness and life as we know it to the stars. It is only possible to travel to Mars when the planets align every 26 months, 6-month trip time, whereas we can launch to the moon every 10 days, 2-day trip time. This means we can iterate much faster to complete a moon city than a Mars city. That said, SpaceX will also strive to build a Mars city and begin doing so in about 5 to 7 years. But the overriding priority is securing the future of civilization, and the moon is faster. Well, yeah, you dumbass.
Yeah. Look, everything he said there is obviously something that anyone with half a brain has known for many decades. And he's now stating this as though this is like his Tony Stark-like genius just finally revealing some deeply hidden truth. Now, Elon really is a stunning moron. And it's only made worse by the fact that he is just, his head is inserted so far up his own ass that, no one else can tell him the perfectly obvious until he suddenly decides it was his own idea to think of it. And this is a classic example of that. Now, I think aiming for the moon is the right choice. It is definitely the sensible and smart goal in terms of how humanity should look to expand its horizons beyond Earth. That is clearly our first baby step. His vision, the reason, however, that he has chosen to do this, in my opinion, comes down to pure vanity. He suddenly realized that the timeline for targeting Mars could well extend beyond his own lifetime, and he wants to be able to say, yes, I achieved this significant goal, or this moment in human history can have his name on it. And that's more likely to happen if he tries to chase the moon rather than Mars. Now, I actually don't think the chances of him actually succeeding on the moon are particularly high either. His Starship rockets and their mechanisms for landing, while very clever and ingenious, and by the way, not his technology, are still so profoundly unreliable that I think we're still decades away from that being a technology that we can comfortably put humans in and feel like there's not a still statistically significant chance that something's going to go wrong, leading to some sort of catastrophe and loss of human life. You've got to add to that the fact that method of landing, that sort of reverse takeoff approach, is currently being designed around the conditions of having an atmosphere like Earth and a gravitational pull like Earth. So you try and do that on the moon and everything changes, because obviously there is no drag coefficient, no sort of concept of a terminal velocity on the moon, because it has no atmosphere. That changes the dynamics profoundly. But even more importantly is like all the regolith. The amount of disturbance on the surface material as the rocket fuel pushes down against that the regolith is going to create a lot of trouble. It's going to create debris flying all over the place, and it's also going to make the target landing spot completely, it's going to make it effectively a chaotic system. You simply don't know what you're going to get or how you're going to reshape the surface you're trying to land on. Again, producing so many unknowns that it's just impossible to say that you're going to be able to land safely. The old method that was done way back in the Apollo projects of having a proper little lunar lander is really just the far more sensible, if albeit seemingly a lot more pedestrian approach to actually getting people safely down onto the moon. But of course the problem then becomes, you can only get a very small number of people down at a time, and that creates all sorts of problems. If the idea is you actually want to establish a colony on the moon rather than you just want to go visit it for purely scientific reasons, well then a lunar lander presents a serious logistical bottleneck. But that isn't even how Elon has designed his Starship. It's the whole thing, Lance. And I just don't see it working. Probably not in my own lifetime. I'm happy to be proven wrong. Then this video someone can come back when I'm proven wrong and point out in the comment section that I'm just being a negative Nelly. But I don't think I am. I really don't think so. Now, I do want to say the other thing about this whole thing about becoming interplanetary, and I know it's a bit of a hobby horse of mine, but guys, if we want to become interplanetary, then it implies we need to become interstellar, because there's only one planet in the solar system that's suitable for human life, and we're already on it. If we want to become interplanetary, we need to find a planet outside of our own solar system. And guess what? If we want to do that, we need to solve for how we can master almost inconceivable magnitudes of both space and time. And what that implies is that straight away we need to forget about chemical rockets. Chemical rockets are not going to cut it. We need to move beyond simple chemistry, burning a payload of fossil fuel to actually get us from A to B. And these sort of distances, interstellar, not working. So I think we probably need to work on antimatter drives. I really think, because antimatter is not science fiction, it's science fact. And it does produce an enormous amount of energy, the kind of energy that might actually produce the sort of speed, the sort of velocity that could make interstellar travel more than just pure science fiction. Now, the journey to developing antimatter rockets that are actually fit for purpose, that in itself is a journey that's probably going to take centuries. It's not something that's going to happen anytime soon. The time to start working on it is of course now. Why not? And I think there are, in fact, one or two startup companies that are indeed looking at antimatter rocket technology. But the challenges are absolutely legend. In my science fiction novel, I do indeed lean on the idea of antimatter rockets to achieve interstellar travel for an alien species. And that isn't by itself probably going to be enough either, because even if you do achieve a certain, significant proportion of the speed of light, you have the energy to produce that kind of speed, you still have tremendous amount of time that will have to pass before you're actually able to reach your destination, just because of the insane distances involved. It's well beyond human comprehension. And that implies stasis technology. So that is the other huge hurdle that we need to get over, but that is something else that people should be looking at right now. And of course, freezing people, cryogenics, that's nonsense, because that involves a phase transition, and a phase transition, the crystallization of water molecules into ice, destroys DNA. So you're not bringing someone back after you've frozen them. So stasis is about actually just dropping the metabolic system down to such a low level that the person seems to almost not age in any perceptible sense. But of course, that has its problems as well, because as soon as you do that, believe it or not, we as humans are constantly suffering radioactive decay at a very low level. And when you shut down our metabolism to such a low rate that our basic bodily functions are no longer working, we can no longer repair any cellular damage that happens to us through low-level radioactive decay. And so that would require like intermittent revival just to give the human body time to repair itself before you put it back under, or other mechanisms that can actually maintain our body's basic DNA structures that are getting damaged by radioactive decay while we're in stasis. And again, these are ideas that I play with in my sci-fi novel. But anyway, this just motivated me to have this rant. I can't believe we live in this timeline. It's like we live in the dumbest possible timeline where people like Elon Musk is literally the richest man in the world, and people still act like this guy is some kind of genius when he is the absolute inverse of that. He takes basic science fiction ideas, throws them out as if they are some sort of vision of the future that he alone has come to understand and be so visionary that he thinks it can be achieved. And he completely untethers himself from basic reality in doing it. It's a tremendous insult to people who want to take these topics genuinely seriously and understand the magnitude of the challenges that are in front of us if we ever want to defeat them. And it's not to say that we can't one day defeat them, and it's not to say that we shouldn't try. But, I mean, you have to do the hard yards. You've got to put in the work, and it's not about just saying you're going to do it. That's not a plan. That's not a strategy. That's just a dream. Anyway, bendy out.